Greetings, surfers of the interweb, I'm Parax11, reviewer for the good, the bad, and the underrated. Well, my last list was a bit of a tricky one to do since I had to count down my 10 least favourite episodes of Star Wars The Clone Wars, one of my favourite shows of all time. However, this one was also pretty difficult as I had to narrow down my favourites.
Star Wars The Clone Wars is one of the most mature animated shows created. With clever storytelling and intense themes, it was a program that almost never talked down to its audience.
So to give a positive start to my videos in 2018, I figured I should count down my top 15 favourite episodes of Star Wars The Clone Wars. Why top 15? Well, there are just too many damn good episodes! Case in point, a couple of honourable mentions before we get started.
Holocron Heist. A tense, well-written heist story featuring the galaxy's coolest bounty hunter, some good development for Ahsoka being less reckless, and Seth Green as a robot. The Onderon arc. An interesting prelude to the original trilogy, seeing a ragtag group of rebels hold off a large, more technologically advanced force, one of whom would become a rebel in one of the films. Two mixed results. The Mortis arc. A visually striking, emotionally powerful story that helps to remystify the Force, but with a few too many plot holes and contrivances to make its way onto the list. And the Voices arc. Continuing a bit from the Mortis arc, with Yoda having an interesting spiritual journey, featuring some great cameos from Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon, and even Mark Hamill as Darth Bane. It even kind of justifies midichlorians. Emphasis on kind of.
And with those out of the way, let's get to the list proper. Also, strong spoiler warning for basically the whole show.
Number 15. The Deserter.
Since clones are in the title of this show, it'd only figure that they expanded on their characters pretty well outside of being faceless drones. Case in point, this episode.
While helping Obi-Wan chase Grievous on the planet Saleucami, Captain Rex is injured by droids, so his men take him to a farm to recover. A farm which it turns out is owned by Cut, a clone deserter.
Well, duh.
This almost perfectly epitomizes the show's objective of fleshing out the clones, as its main focus isn't on the Jedi fighting the Separatists, but on the grunts fighting in the war. One of the things that probably made me more attached to the clones than the Jedi as a kid, and now, is that they're just regular guys. While the Jedi have the Force and lightsabers that make them basically superheroes, the troopers are just normal humans, and I admit that back in the day, I audibly gasped when Rex was shot. At first, Rex seems disgusted by Cut's apparent cowardice, but after spending time with him and his family, hearing his pretty tragic backstory of the rest of his squad being wiped out, and fighting off some droids at the end, he grows to respect his brother. Not only is Cut an interesting character, but this started Rex's transition from a perfect clone, a capable and unquestioning warrior, to a perfect soldier, more willing to question orders and himself. Although it is a little weird that the usually agile commando droids are rather zombie-like here. But they did receive a rude awakening from Cut's annoying but still kinda cute kids.
No, please, 5 more minutes.
On the side, Obi-Wan chasing Grievous is pretty entertaining, with a great duel between them at the end, and the good general having a pretty hilarious comedy scene before then.
You would not let us ride on one of those creatures with you, sir. If you would allow us to close down for a few moments.
Any more complaints?
Sir, can we discuss the severance package?
No!
Damn it.
The story is a good example of how less is more, as two soldiers discussing war is oddly a bit more engaging than those fighting in it.
It's one of those episodes that only strengthened my loyalty to this show.
He rode a blazing saddle, he wore a shining star.
Number 14. Air of Grievous. I've already talked about this one in a full review, so I'll try and keep it brief, and hope my nemesis doesn't interrupt.
Oh no, a repeat performance would be too repetitive. Please continue. Oh, thanks Terry. Well, it's OI! Get back here, you grubby word!
Kit Fisto and his old apprentice Nadar try and capture one of the trade stereotypes from Phantom Menace, only to find themselves at the mercy of Grievous on his home turf. The atmosphere of this episode is dark and creepy, helped by some great animation, especially by Season 1 standards, as it's clear that nowhere in the lair is safe. Between booby traps and giant monsters, it wasn't a good day to be a red shirt.
Or should that be red armor?
Plus we get one of Grievous's more intimidating moments in the show, as he's able to kill Nadar and fought Fisto to a stalemate, although it's unclear how the battle would have gone if he'd stuck around. Even Rasta Jedi with all his charm couldn't stop the general making the tone darker than his base. Seriously though, you may want to pay the electric bill, mate.
I submit to no one!
Number 13. The Nightsisters arc. While Asajj Ventress was a skilled and threatening villain throughout most of the show, she didn't receive much development, her past remaining a mystery until this arc. After Dooku abandons her due to yet another failure, Ventress seeks out her people, the Nightsisters. She forms an alliance with the Goth Squad to destroy Dooku by making a pawn out of Savage Opress, a Night Brother who's related to a certain underutilized Sith from the prequels, to pretend to be his apprentice. The arc features two characters who are textbook examples of tragic monsters. We see Ventress's past, which was basically a conga line of people abandoning/dying on her. The Nightsisters gave her to a criminal who died. She was taken in and trained by a Jedi Master who died. She then got taken in by Dooku, who abandoned her.
That's rough, buddy.
It serves to expand her character and make her more sympathetic.
Well, as sympathetic as an emo mass murderer can be.
And her henchman is just as weirdly sympathetic. Savage shows himself to be a strong and caring brother at first, only accepting Ventress's offer to be her slave.
Oh my!
Once she agrees to spare him. And she keeps her promise. It's just a shame that after a pretty disturbing transformation, don't do steroids kids, he's completely loyal to the sisters, so...
Kill him. No! Brother! Brother, please! Survive!
For kids!
It's also oddly pitiful to see Savage get crapped on by Dooku. When Ventress reveals her plan, she just chews him out since he, a novice, can't defeat a fully trained Sith Lord. I honestly can't blame him for betraying them both. Add in some awesome fights, diving into how truly dark the dark side can get, and foreshadowing to an even better arc I'll talk about further down the list, and this is easily one of my favourite stories in the show without a shadow of a doubt. Also, eat your heart out, Stanley.
Don't make me come down there, you punk!
Number 12. Hostage Crisis. One of the most awesome characters to come out of this show was the greedy, cool, badass bounty hunter Cad Bane, and he made a pretty big first impression. While yet another boring Senate meeting is in progress, with Anakin having given Padme his lightsaber for, in hindsight, a really dumb stunt, Bane and his posse of bounty hunters infiltrate the Senate building, and take the Senator's present hostage as leverage to free Zero the Hutt. This episode showcases Cad Bane's intimidating traits perfectly, being cunning, cool under pressure, and not afraid to get his hands dirty, even just to prove a point.
I, for one, have no intention of listening to this kind of insolence.
Yikes.
How come blue-skinned, red-eyed Star Wars villains in animation are always so creepy?
He even goes Superman on this poor guard with the help of...
All your heads look bloody 12 feet tall!
There's also the ominous idea that with the Jedi fighting the war, they've allowed the criminal underworld to grow out of control, given Bane assembled a pretty big team of skilled scumbags that obviously haven't been arrested. An interesting idea elaborated further in later arcs. I mean, he managed to get an excellent marksman on his side and a hacker capable of controlling the Senate building. While Anakin giving Padme his lightsaber feels a little contrived, I believe that their marriage and the war would cause a bit of tension and mistrust between the two.
And of course he'd do something as thoughtless as this. It's Anakin!
At least it turns out okay in the end. This also adds some decent suspense when Anakin's being chased since he can't slice up the hunters, one of whom is pretty clever, even though he falls for a mind trick.
Move along. Move along. Move along.
Once Skywalker takes out a droid, he's clever enough to notice that he doesn't have a lightsaber, and the other hunters dispatch him easily.
Blasted!
I think that's the idea, Annie. Plus, Bane wins at the end. The Chancellor submits to his demands, Zero's freed, and, if not for Anakin, the Senators would have been blown up. Fox tries to help, but he's Fox.
Holster 'em.
Stand down.
God damn it, Fox! How did the worst clone in the Grand Army get such a prestigious position? And this isn't even his worst cock-up in the show.
Despite Fox's idiocy, this episode remains one of the most gripping in the show, and was a pretty ballsy way to end the first season.
Congratulations on a job well done, bounty hunter.
Time to pay up, Hat.
We've got to have money.
Number 11. Innocence of Ryloth. Clone Wars constantly showed multiple perspectives on the war very well, especially in the Ryloth 3-parter. While Storm over Ryloth gave some good development for Ahsoka, with her becoming less hot-headed after losing a squad of pilots, and Liberty on Ryloth had Windu team up with freedom fighter champ Syndulla, I personally found Innocence the most interesting, focusing on the suffering of ordinary people caught in the middle of the Republic and Separatists' battles. After the Seps blockade over Ryloth is destroyed, Obi-Wan and his company of clones move to take the city of Nabat. After they all split up, 2 clones, Waxer and Boyle, find and have to take care of a little girl called Numa, while Obi-Wan and Cody have to find a way to destroy the droid's cannons without killing the civilians being used as living shields. The plight of the Twi'leks is very sympathetic. They had nothing more than ordinary people dragged into the war through no choice of their own, but the coldly logical tactical droid saw them as a means to an end. Focusing on one of them in particular, as well as making her a little girl, was also a good move for gaining the audience's sympathy. Numa is so cute, as her interactions with Boyle and Waxer are very entertaining.
Nara? Nara?
Now, I'm Waxer. He's Boyle.
Nara? Nara.
I really wish I hadn't flunked alien language. Waxer, being the most precious clone, wants to take care of Numa, while Boyle, understandably, thinks she'll get in the way of their mission.
Plus the two didn't really get off on the right foot. Or right finger.
That being said, Numa's never a load. Not only does she guide Obi-Wan and the troopers to the prisoners when they meet back up, but we see the ruins of her home in one of the show's saddest scenes. It's just heartbreaking, with her parents presumably being dead, and the only thing she has left is a doll.
It's okay now. We're here to help.
I need a clone to hug.
Don't cry, kid. We'll keep you safe. I promise.
It even has the Seps use dinosaur fleas to fight the clones. That's pretty cool. Once the prisoners are freed, they follow Numa's spirit of not being useless and tear the tactical droid to bits. I get the feeling she's gonna have a pretty big rebellious stage later. Numa's reunited with her uncle, so yeah, her parents have gone with all the other Disney mums and dads, as she decides to give her friend something precious as a parting gift.
So, what is that she keeps calling us?
Nera. It means brother.
How can a show about war be so cute?
Number 10. Padawan Lost and Wookie Hunt. It's kind of funny how Ahsoka started out as one of the more hated Star Wars characters in her early appearances, but due to her development over the course of this show and Rebels, has become one of the most popular characters in the franchise.
And this arc brilliantly shows why she's a favourite to many, myself included.
During a battle on Felucia, Ahsoka is captured by Trandoshan sport hunters, who release her on a forest planet. Finding other younglings who've been kidnapped, she tries to rally them together to get off the planet, and get some unexpected help from a hairy source. It's easy to see that without Ahsoka's growth and development, she would have died in the excellently creepy forest. While starting out as just a hot-headed brat, she grew into a midpoint between Obi-Wan and Anakin's philosophies, having the tenacity and stubbornness of her master, but also preferring to think things through before leaping, shown here as she motivates the Padawans, whose only aim was to survive before she arrived, into escaping, and coming up with some pretty good plans, such as making a transmitter or going GTA Trandosha on them to get up to their hideout. The dark and tangled forest makes for a creepy setting, since the lizards pursuing the plucky Padawans have the advantage, the Trandos themselves being pretty intimidating villains due to a mixture of menacing voiceover and brilliant sound design, basically being humanoid redneck velociraptors.
Where is she? This one was faster than most. I've lost the scent. She can't hide forever.
Mark my words.
The leader also gets pretty pissed at Ahsoka after she kills his son, giving him an understandable motivation that only makes him scarier.
Luckily, they get some help in the form of a giant walking awesome cameo.
It's a Wookiee.
A mission to
Chewbacca's appearance in this is excellently done, as it isn't just for the sake of fan service, it's a transmitter he builds that leads a bunch of Wookiees to rescue everyone. The producers even got Peter Mayhew, Chewie's actor, in to advise them on how to get his walking carpetness just right. And so many scenes of Chewie kicking scaly ass are just awesome. But by far my favourite part of this story is the ending. Not only is this the only happy ending in a Clone Wars season finale, which Rebels has carried on despite being owned by Disney, it's just so satisfying to see Ahsoka make it back to her master, and giving Anakin some much needed assurance that she can survive even without him. After so much hardship, it was so gratifying to see an oasis of happiness in an otherwise grim story, where the Trandoshans really should have learned that it wasn't wise to mess with a Wookiee or the Jedi.
I don't know what to say.
I do. Thank you, Master.
You're welcome, my Padawan.
I must not cry. You cannot make me cry.
Number 9. The Deception Arc. One of the biggest problems with episode 3 was Anakin's whining towards the Jedi Council. He's given a prestigious place and yet that does nothing but about it and trusts the obvious bad guy.
How do you breathe?
Luckily, this arc served to justify Skywalker's distrust to the Jedi. To start the arc with a bunch of people going, "Holy f***ing shit!" Obi-Wan is shot by a sniper, which is, of course, a ruse for him to infiltrate a team of bounty hunters who Count Dooku hires to assassinate the Chancellor. The tension in this arc is phenomenally done. Sure, knowing Obi-Wan survives kind of lessens it by a lot, but every moment you feel the urgency of his mission and worry if the hunters on the team will catch him. Bane's just as awesome as ever.
Where can I get some quality blasters?
I wouldn't be too picky being on the run like you obviously are.
I'd keep my mouth shut if I were you, Pablo. Thanks for the hat.
Damn!
And his partner Morale with Al is unique.
You were destined to become a supervillain, weren't you? I mean, what next? Dead parents?
Eval killed his mother when he was only a boy. Told the authorities he did it because he was bored.
Jesus.
On their journey, they come across all kinds of wretched hives of scum and villainy, making the Jedi's neglect of the criminals seem even more dire, given Dooku puts together an even more impressive team of hunters than Bane previously did. Even though one particular hunter makes me question what the designers were eating in their free time. Their work is still as magical as ever though. There's also the horrible irony of Anakin trying to hunt down his master, as he's disguised as the bounty hunter who killed him, with his comic book death making him pretty angry at the council for keeping it from him. Sure, it's understandable why, as his reaction made Kenobi's ruse believable, but it comes off as very manipulative and untrustworthy. Capping off the arc with Anakin protecting Palpatine from Dooku further drove in how much of a pawn he was in the war, given the Jedi used him for their plans and Palpatine's done nothing but use basically everyone in the galaxy. It's a story that only made the war seem grayer, and both sides seem equally deceptive.
One shudders to think where the galaxy would be without the Jedi.
Good. What's so funny, Chancellor?
Oh, I'm sorry, Anakin. I was just, going to my happy place, the beach.
I don't like the beach. I don't like sand.
Oh, shut up.
Number 8. The Geonosis story arc was a blast from start to finish, with the first 2 episodes being intense non-stop thrilling action, and the latter 2 focusing on the gruesome possession and horror of the bug zombie brain worms.
Perhaps I should give those a review this Halloween.
However, while I really like the whole storyline, I'm giving the spot exclusively to the first episode, landing at Point Rain. After the Separatists retake Geonosis, the Jedi naturally want to take it back, but basically everything that could go wrong goes wrong, with only Kenobi's troops making it to their landing site, while Obi-Wan himself, Anakin, Ahsoka and Ki-Adi-Mundi are shot down, with the locals' defense making their assaults near impossible. Where's Delta Squad when you need them? Even by Clone Wars standards, the landing on Geonosis is pretty violent, basically feeling like a Star Wars version of D-Day. Gunships are shot out of the air with the troops sent flying, and the bugs drag unsuspecting troopers away like zombies. Foreshadowing?
Good thing those bugs can't aim.
Even the Jedi have a difficult time with such stiff resistance, with Obi-Wan preparing to make his last stand just as relief comes in the aid of explosives.
Oh, they're going to have to glue you back together in hell!
Even though the Jedi are powerful, it's nice to see that they have their limits. While they all make it to the end of the episode, you feel how tough a slog it is to the LZ, and Obi-Wan and Mundi have to sit out the next episode. Plus, throughout the episode, we get little bits of relief with Anakin and Ahsoka's snipping contest.
How many droids have you shut down so far? 25! You're falling behind.
Deadpool would be proud of you two.
And this also shows Rex at his most badass and funniest. Being a great straight man for his commanders, clone comedy training is outstanding.
Up and away!
Next time, just tell me to jump.
Now where's the fun in that?
However, Ki-Adi, while still fun to watch and having a lovably calm attitude, comes off as a bit of a jerk.
Good luck, General.
There is no such thing as luck. We'll make for that bridge. With any luck, we can meet up with Skywalker on his way to Kenobi's position.
Wow, Mundi. You are both literally and figuratively the biggest dickhead in the Jedi Order.
Luckily, nah. His troopers make up for it by packing some of the hottest new weapons from Blastech Industries. Nothing like the smell of burnt bugs in the morning. Throw in some precious cameos.
Boy, reporting as ordered, sir. Waxer, reporting as ordered, sir.
And you have an episode where basically everything it attempts lands on its feet. Number 7. The Rookies arc.
Wow, another clone-focused episode. Starting to see a pattern, viewers.
This arc, with the beginning and end in Season 3, and the middle in Season 1, alrighty, chronicles the clones of Domino Squad from cadets to shinies, and eventually the only 2 survivors being promoted to ARC troopers. Rookies is easily one of the best episodes of the first season, focusing on a group of 3 clones who must team up with Rex and Cody to retake their base from commando droids. Not only does this introduce the actually pretty intimidating commandos, but showing these young clones who are initially out of their depth rise to the task and become heroes is very endearing, though even with 4 other awesome troopers backing him up, Rex gets to show off, as well as exhibiting some really nice puppeteering skills.
This is never gonna work.
Hooray for memes!
However, once droid reinforcements come, it's up to Heavy, the member of the group initially wanting to get some action, having to sacrifice himself to alert the Republic.
Do we take prisoners?
I don't.
Well, at least he died how he lived, being a complete badass.
One of Season 3's better moves was to start off showing the backstory of the clones, as well as how Echo and Fives went on after Heavy's death. Although one of the things I liked about Clone Wars was how it gave the troopers personality, Clone Cadets shows a disadvantage of that, with their respective traits clashing, such as Echo rigidly following orders, Cut Up not taking situations seriously, and Heavy trying to go it alone. Of course, I have to give so much praise to D. Bradley Baker for being able to do the same voice with slightly different inflections or pitch to create separate characters, but over time with some advice from their mercenary advisors, Jedi Master Shak Ti, and the adorable clone Janitor 99, they managed to learn to work together.
We're nothing but a bad batch. Failures. Like you. Yeah, but how can I be a failure when I never even got my chance? There's a chance you're thrown away.
Give me one day out there, all I ask is one.
Finally, in ARC Troopers, the droid army attacks Kamino, and we get to see the true heroism of the clones defending their home, from cadets to even 99 in a gut-wrenching sacrifice.
Last one, Commander. Make it count.
I'll get rolled.
99, you can't!
I'm a soldier, like you!
The real tragedy of this scene is that 99 doesn't get a heroic last stand or some compelling last words. He just dies like a soldier, as Cody says.
We lost a true soldier. He really was one of us.
Also, the bickering between Grievous and Ventress is priceless.
Keep playing with your droids. I'll handle breaking into the DNA room.
Shall I provide you with a droid escort?
My dear General, there's nothing you have that I could want.
Ship, 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 ship.
Not to mention so many badass moments for the troopers.
Never has simply catching something been so awesome.
Overall, the story arc showed well how the clones transitioned to becoming the galaxy's greatest soldiers.
So all in all, this was a very satisfying arc.